Ach, up, ach, up, ach. Oh, wang, 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 wang.
Good morning. My name is Chris Fox, and today we're kind of coming full circle. I want to talk about the road to a million words, which harkens back to the roots of this channel. If you've been here since the beginning, and I know few of you have been around that long, you remember it started with the 21-day novel challenge. So I wrote a novel on screen, the novel Destroyer, in 3 weeks. I wrote it and edited it on screen. And I showed you every day my word counts and my Scrivener file. I worked through the plot problems. I told you, kind of all the issues that I faced along the way. And that was, let's see, at that point, I think it was my fifth novel, maybe my sixth. So it was early in the process. Well, here we are. It's now 2020, and I have 30 books in print. And I think of those, like 24 are novels. 22? I don't know. It's sad that I don't know. I have so many novels out that I'm not even exactly sure what's in print and what's not. But I've written over 20 novels. I've learned a lot more about how to do this. And more importantly, I think for the coming year, I've learned how to be a production author. I have been a professional author now where this is all I do for my income since February of 2016 when the channel launched. So the first month that I started producing videos was also my first month as a full-time author. I had some books out, I'd been making a living, but I sort of took the plunge and jumped off, and I quit my job as a software engineer. So I had a six-figure job as a software engineer, and I quit it blindly to become an author when I launched this channel. Well, there were a lot of lessons I've learned over the last 5 years, and I think peering a microscope down at my work once more like we used to do, and showing you my daily word counts and showing you the books that I'm working on and my cover production schedule and what my ad spend looks like, giving you that sort of insight will be valuable again. And I can start showing you how things have changed. So just as an example of what you'll see the very first time I start writing a book and documenting it is I now edit as I go. So this is a much more Michael Anderle style of editing where it used to be I would write a book all the way through and do no editing. And as soon as the manuscript was done, I would do a pass, and then I would hand that manuscript off to an editor, and a few weeks later, I'd get it back, and then I would do maybe one more pass, and off to the store it would go. If I had enough time, and I almost never did, beta readers would get a chance to read and weigh in on that. Well, now I'm building the novel as Lisa is editing it. So she's going through the book behind me and editing it. So if I'm writing chapter 10, she's probably editing chapter 5, and she follows behind me in the book, and it's a very delicate dance. It's difficult for us to pull off because sometimes I have to go back and change things in contents that she's already edited. But it's much faster, much, much faster. So I just finished Eradicator, which is book 5 in Magitech Legacy. And I wrote and edited that book from scratch with a really rough one-paragraph outline in 11 days. And it's 60,000 words long. So I mean, I really crank stuff out now then, and what that would have been at the beginning of this channel, that would have taken probably the full 21, because I would have taken a lot longer to edit it and go over it, and now I have a much more abbreviated process, and I kind of want to show that off. This whole road to a million words and the thrust of the channel in 2021 is really about accountability for me. So it's funny because when I first started the channel, yeah, accountability was a big deal for me. I was terrified I wouldn't work hard enough once I went first full-time as an author. Like, oh my God, what if I sit around and just play video games? So I wanted a way to be accountable, but it was also a way for me to get noticed. Well, now it's solely about accountability. If nobody watches these videos next year, I'm still going to put them up because I want to be accountable to myself. And at the end of every day, whether I hit my words or not, I want to be able to say on camera, yeah, I did it or no, I didn't. So I'll probably be posting much more frequent videos throughout the year. And they'll be shorter. That format seems to carry a lot better. People like between 5 and 10 minute videos. I tried like 20 to 35 minute challenge videos and people just don't watch them. You get like a quarter of the way and you stop. But if you just get a little chunk every day, people are much more interested. And it's easier for me to produce that because it means at the end of the day, I finish my 5, 6, or 7,000 words depending on my goal at that time. And then I just take 5 or 10 minutes to do a recording and 5 or 10 more minutes and edit it and call it a day. So what I'm trying to do is set up a production schedule that I can follow in 2021 that keeps me incredibly busy and pushes me to the edge of what I am capable of doing. Because I have some big goals. I'm finally going to be releasing the epic fantasy novel, my magnum opus, Shattered Gods. So I've been working on this for decades. Decades and decades. I've written this novel so many times. I've written it in the first person. I've written it in the third person. I've written it set in different places, and the protagonist has changed multiple times. This has been something I've worked on for my whole career. And finally, I feel like I'm good enough in craft, I've leveled up enough that I can write this and do it justice. And because I'm going to be doing this fantasy series, I think putting it on camera would be a ton of fun so that I can show you the plotting that's going into this and the world building and where Shattered Gods is. And you'll see some Magitech Chronicles books. We're going to finish up the Dark Lord Bert finally, so you're going to get books 2 and 3 in the Dark Lord Bert, and I'll show you my entire production schedule and what we're going to be working on next year. But my goal, again, is to show you a bunch of salient topics. So how do you get a cover that sells in 2021? How do you advertise in 2021 and get your new release to make a splash? And do it profitably, so not pouring thousands of dollars into ad spend, but judiciously choosing where do I spend my ad dollars so I can make the biggest splash possible. I've done it all ways. I've done it where I'm dominating the market and I'm making sure every release gets into the top 100 of every category that it's in, and usually the top 20 and oftentimes the top 1. And I've done it where I put not a dime into advertising and see how it rides. And what I found is the most profitable way to do it is in the middle. So I'm not trying to make it to the top of every launch with every launch. I'm not trying to make it at the top of the charts. I'm focused more on profit, and I find that if I spend a medium amount of advertising dollars that I can achieve that, where I make the most profit that way. Anyway, that and many other things are going to be covered over the course of the next year on the channel. I really want to double down and try to talk about how things have changed since the inception of this channel, because many of the videos that I did, how to plot, how to edit, how to market, those things are different now. And they're more refined, and there's new tools that didn't exist back then. And the market obviously is much, much more crowded. So yeah, we'll go through that. Any other details I want to get in the first intro video? I had a conversation with somebody recently online, and I think I met them in a game. It was random, but they happened to be a writer. And they told me they didn't think they could make it because the market's too saturated and that ship has sort of sailed. And so, many people write books, but nobody's able to sell them. And so even though they had these stories inside of them that they badly, badly wanted to write, they weren't going to do it because it seemed foolish to them. And it's funny because I realized that's exactly the same mindset I had with publishing. With traditional publishing. Oh, I'm never going to get a traditional publisher to pick my novel up off the slush pile, so I'm never going to get published. There's no point in writing this book, so why waste any time? And here I am as a professional author, because a way emerged to get around the limitations of the day. So if publishers were the gatekeepers, all of a sudden self-publishing became a thing and I got to make it to the market. Who knows how you'll get to make it to the market? But if you don't ever actually write the novel, then there's nothing for you to ever give out or to succeed with. You will succeed with. You will definitely fail if you don't try. So I guess let me know if you think this is going to be useful. Let me know what you want to see over the course of the next year. What format is most useful for these videos. Probably what I will do is a challenge style for certain books where I'll do a X day challenge where it's like a 12-day challenge, and in 12 days I'm going to write this specific book, and then I'll do it on camera in that number of days. And some of the challenge lengths will vary. If I'm writing a 200,000 epic fantasy novel, 200,000 epic fantasy novel, that's going to take a lot longer than a 50,000 word Bert book. But I want to show you how, as an author, I can look at a novel project before I even start it and say, okay, this is going to take me 19 days. And on camera, you'll see it takes me 19 days to finish that book. And throughout the entire year, I should be able to hit that. The only real risk is burnout, and so there'll be segments of videos throughout the year that deal with burnout. Like, how do you keep moving when burnout is hitting you? And I am very well prepared to deal with that, because this year is the most challenging I've ever faced, like in so many ways, the pandemic, which we've all gone through, you guys know how it's impacted your own lives. Caleb was born on December 30th, so like he's about to turn 1 year old exactly. We're starting to get ready for his birthday and for Christmas. Having an infant and having this pandemic, and also trying to navigate the waters with a young corporation. My corporation's only 5 years old, trying to make a living, but also do all the things that you have to do as a business owner. It's been hard. And usually what's happened to me in the past is burnout. So if you look at my journey over the last 5 years. Like, let's just say, you were able to binge every video and watch it in the span of an hour, and you saw everything that I went through in the last 5 years since it's all documented. I have these big successes and then I'd crash, and then I have these big successes and then I'd crash, and it just kept doing it over and over and over. Well, finally this year I found balance, and I produced over 1 million words in 2020. And my income wasn't quite where I wanted it to be because I was more focused on production, but I ran a Kickstarter and I produced a role-playing game, which is way harder than writing a novel. Like, it's an order of magnitude more complex. You have to coordinate an entire team. And you have to balance all these rules. And in a novel, when the novel's done, it's done. And if you find a typo, you fix it. In a game, if a rule is unbalanced, you have to fix it. And so you have to go back and you have to change the original rule and errata it. So I learned a whole new skill set this year. And you're going to see that come into play next year. And I probably on this channel won't do a lot of stuff about the role-playing games because it's such a small niche of the people that watch this channel. But I do have a second channel where we're covering that stuff. And it's devoted to the Magitech Chronicles and role-playing games in general. So that stuff will be produced too if you are curious about how to create a role-playing game and sell one and what the profit from that looks like. I'll probably produce all that stuff on the second channel as well. But this one will be mostly about the fiction and about audiobooks, because that's another big component of 2021. We're finally hitting a point where people are talking about audiobooks being saturated. There's a lot of content there. It's been just flooding out from Audible to the point where their QC cannot keep up. ACX is just, broken at this point in terms of getting books out on time. I just submitted it and then I wait months and months and months. And that's meant, by the way, for the first time, I actually sold the rights to one of my series to a publisher. So I sold a trilogy to Podium for the first time because as much as I love making my own audiobooks, I don't love waiting months and then I get a random email from Audible one day saying, hey, it's live in the store, good luck with your launch. That's not cool. It's hard to operate a business that way, and so I'm finding that directly releasing through ACX is harder, and unless something changes, I may not do that with new series going forward. Anyway, that and many other things will be talked about on the channel in 2021. I will probably do an income video because people request that very heavily. But given my timing and the number of stuff that's coming out, I'm not sure that I can do it the full justice that I've done in the last few. This wasn't a great year financially. It wasn't terrible, but like it's the worst year I've had in the last couple. Last year was a record, and so this year, coming off the back of that, revenue-wise, I made a decent amount, but my expenses were really, really high this year, and I invested a lot. So tough year in that regard, and you'll get a chance to see that in the income video. Anyway, this is getting rambly, but you have some idea, hopefully, of where the channel is going forward and what I plan to do next year. I'm going to document 1 million words of fiction and what it's like to be a working production author. And hopefully can answer any questions for those of you that are aspiring to do this, because here I am 5 years later still doing it. Anyway, guys, I need to do final edits on Eradicator and get that uploaded for the pre-order, so I'm going to get back to the writing, and I will see you next week.